Friends and enemies. Len just reminded me that the background is not on. Oh my God, I feel naked. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, my shirt's back on, buddy. Okay, I feel great.
But
I'm not wearing anything below the waist. Just like as always, you just see the top part of us. And I don't know about you, Joey, but yeah, it's always au natural, waist and below.
Well, as you know, textiles that are being manufactured in America and Canada from here on out will be more expensive. So it's best just to wear a shirt and avoid the pants if you can. I think a lot of people are going to take that strategy. What about you?
Yeah, well, that's why I like to make relations with people from Bangladesh and that part of the world where textile factories are just, sometimes they're even thrown in for a dowry. I'll throw in this gold. Oh, hey, here's a
throw it in there.
Textile factory.
Gold and a bit of cattle, right? It's very important. Makes the world go around. I don't know.
I don't know.
We got a big show tonight. We got lots to talk about. Tariffs, obviously. The Carney Polyev boxing match continues. And Bitcoin is in the tank. But first, we're going to talk about the sponsors. EasyDNS, the best place for you to buy a domain, register a domain, port a domain and register it there, do all that stuff. Mark will help you get it done. And there's really no better place to go. Why? Well, he's got a number of things going on there. We talk about the virtual private server stuff for the Bitcoin crowd every week. You can do a BTC Pay server, Nostr Relay, Bitcoin node list. There's probably a bunch more stuff that I don't remember or know about that Mark will help you with. And then on top of that, Len, DomainSure, for a couple extra bucks, you can get a rock solid security suite. And actually, Dave Bradley on the show last week gave Mark a long shout out to begin the show because Mark is going to help Dave basically migrate every domain that he owns or has a hand in over to EasyDNS after his domain, Bitcoin Brains, was redirected to Pornhub over Christmas. Did you know that?
No. The question I have beyond that is how many domain names is Dave squatting on?
Oh, I don't know. Good question. Mark might tell us offline. I don't know if we'll be able to share it, but
personal information.
If
I thought you were able to twist the arm and figure it out.
That's right. That's right. So if you find that your domain is redirecting to Pornhub, you may want to call Mark and get half off your first round of buys with EasyDNS with our code CBP Media. Just tell him we sent you. He's always in the chat. He's grateful for your patronage and your friendship. Okay, we know that for a fact. So head over there. Who's the second sponsor, Len?
Bull Bitcoin. And if you want to get some,
does that say 80,000? Does that block clock say 80,000? Oh my goodness! Yes. Wow.
Some porn for your financial future. You might as well buy some Bitcoin. Right? And where else are you going to buy your Bitcoin? You're going to go to Bull Bitcoin, who happen to be non-custodial, which is what you want in the exchange. We talk about this all the time. When you buy Bitcoin on an exchange and they hold on to it, are you really holding on to your Bitcoin? And if something happens to the exchange, what happens at that point? Do they reimburse you? Probably not. Look at the poor folks that happen to have been Mt. Gox, Einstein, and so forth. And it just goes on and on. So Bull Bitcoin doesn't give you that opportunity because when you make a buy, in order to facilitate the purchase, you have to provide an address. It doesn't have to be a real address, or you're just wasting your money if you do that, but you still have to provide a Bitcoin address to facilitate the purchase. So there you go. And not just on-chain, you could do Lightning, but gosh, the on-chain fees, last I checked, the mempool was empty. We'll be talking about that today, so continue to do your buys on-chain, which only makes sense if you ask me. So what else are you going to do with your Bull Bitcoin account, right? You're not just simply buy and sell your Bitcoin. Well, you could pay your bills, right? Like, look, we're back to 80K. Some would say that's a good point, a good number to start spending your Bitcoin or buying, whatever that you want to do. But if you want to start spending it, you pay your bills using the Bull Bitcoin's bill service. And that's one way to spend your Bitcoin and to pay off the bills that you have accumulated over the past few months. And also, you can buy gift cards with your, well, how could you spend your Bitcoin in Canada, right? Like, we can't do this without gift cards. Right, you got to get these gift cards through Bull Bitcoin. And this is the way to do it. So like you got like a Starbucks or a Home Depot or whatever, and then where you go. So you're spending your Bitcoin indirectly if you buy one of these gift cards through Bull Bitcoin. Check them out. Open an account if you haven't done so in Canada and in parts of Europe. And if you do that and you fund your account, $21 will be added to your account.
Yes.
Check them out.
Okay, so to answer a couple questions in the chat here, Yoshi, I can see you in our live chat from Twitter, but I can't respond to you typing, and so the likelihood that you get a response on a comment is much lower if I have to say it on the air, because I don't know about you guys, but most of the time, unless I'm talking about something like subject specific and it kind of flows, talking to the chat is basically a nightmare and impossible. Len, you want to do some boosts here? And then
it's an odd one, Joey, because the boost we're getting the same amount in terms of funding every week, but there's no messages. There's only one that I could see. Like Jer, for instance, boosted us 2,000 sats. No message associated with it. So I don't even know what the heck's going on.
Okay.
Ladies, gentlemen, getting some feedback on your end, Joey.
That's a weird sound. Hold on.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. We are being invaded, ladies and gentlemen. So just bear with us.
Hold on.
I can see the cord.
That sounds pretty funny, but there you go. This is what happens when you put on.
There's a cable. So I have a Rodecaster Pro 2, and it has a lot of FX on the board, which we never use. Like if I was doing something else, maybe I would like have FX on the board, like little sound bites or whatever. But now, after an update, for whatever reason, in Rode's infinite wisdom, they decided to put the effects on the touch display, where the cord for the XLR cable, for my mouse, for whatever, kind of comes around there sometimes, especially during the show. And so I'm like, what is that? I can see the thing lit up, but I can't turn it off. That's the cord that was hitting it. So there you go, a little robot noise.
You can turn it on or off anytime you like.
Could you do one where you could sing next? Yeah, fuck this. I gotta get me one of these fucking things. Gee, what the fuck? What am I doing here? Sitting here like a fucking peasant with just a mic in front of me. I want all these.
There's a couple other ones. Let's just see what they are.
What's this one? This one sounds pretty good. This is so sensitive.
Back to the first one.
About the one? No, I don't know.
Is there like one that?
Whatever, it's fine.
Is there one that there's like a cuck voice? And we're like
there's probably a way to like bring in like someone else's whatever settings for these. I have never actually been into that menu. I've been into many other menus on this thing, but never
put it on a bankless settings. I want to pretend we're them and say ultrasound
What's
money.
This one do? This is the bankless one.
There we go.
Oh, we're waiting for ETH to flip in BTC.
Don't forget the lap in. It's got to lap in it a couple of fucking times too, and then what's happening in the end?
Lapping it? That's when the gap goes to double Bitcoin, and then after that, it's gonna double again. It's gonna be so easy, David. Fuck
I don't even know the other guy's name. So, David and who?
Fucking find out.
Fuck off.
That's good for when I'm finally done. When I'm finally done my smoking habit, I can finally get this robot voice. Okay. We've wasted enough time here. I have
boost. Oh my god.
This is quality audio, ladies and gents. On live.
Okay, I just cleared it. I don't know. I make no guarantees that I won't do that by accident again. I have a thing I want to share, and I'm trying to think of the best way to share it. So,
do it old school. Mail it to everybody.
Well, I don't want to give the guy's name up, and I'm having a hard time figuring out a way to do this that makes sense. We had a guy who listens to the show send us 2 songs that he wrote and produced, rap songs, where you and me, Len, are featured in the intros to the songs. And they're quite good. I don't know what made him do this, or if he does it, sort of regularly or as a hobby. He also runs a comedy club in Toronto, which we are invited to. I'm just gonna pull this up, and it sounds like he says we can use them. So at the risk of maybe putting too much info out there, I'm just gonna do it anyway. I think you guys are really gonna like these. These are kind of fun, Len. I have to be honest. I'm very excited by these things. Okay, so can you see that?
No.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to add it to the screen here. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah. I see
okay, let's see if you can hear it.
You're on a Mac, no?
This is not a Mac. This is a Windows machine.
Oh.
Okay, listen up. Pretty good. I really like that line, Toronto never say the second T. Okay, so that's one. And then this is the other one. Isn't that fun? I think
You
those
have a
are
new
great.
ringtone.
Yeah, I think we should commission this guy to produce an intro song for the show. Should we do that? I don't know what that would cost. A couple $100 maybe. I have no idea. $1,000. I really have no idea what it would cost. But we should. I kind of think we should commission this guy to make an intro for the show.
I thought we were gonna give him our unending friendship. That's the payment, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Will this landlord accept
Smart.
that for mortgage or rent? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
You
But,
could leverage that somehow, and maybe you could
Yeah,
turn it into
yeah,
thousands
maybe.
of smiles. And
Maybe.
What?
I gotta see what that costs. But I want to give that guy a shout out because I think those are really cool. And I meant to do that a few weeks ago. I really like the songs. So thank you for that, my friend. Okay, but let's should we get to it? I don't know. What do you think?
well, what's going on next this coming week?
Okay, so we got a couple interviews here. We got
couple.
Yeah, I got a few coming up. We got Phil Coin Icarus coming on Wednesday. We're going to talk about all things. I mean, Phil's been in content for a long time. Like I said, he was one of my first Bitcoin follows, and I do want to talk to him about like the nature of this sort of clickbait garbage. Great example today. Every retard account, low IQ tube, simply clickbait, green candle. Like again, I have nothing against these people personally, but it's just fucking retarded that everyone tweets out there's an emergency Fed meeting. The Fed meetings are on the books months in advance. They meet every other Monday in perpetuity. Like it's just the dumbest shit for the dumbest people. And all of YouTube content has gone this way. I even feel stupid sometimes doing the thumbnails to try and draw in a few new listeners, but I'm not like, that's as far as I'm going to go. I'm never going to start the video with this $7 trillion plan to nuke Bitcoin by this nation. Like it's garbage.
Which
It's
one? I'm
garbage.
curious because I want to listen to that.
Yeah, draw me in, get a like, right? But it's just like, I'm never going to do that. And I think Phil was on Simply for a long time. And I want to talk to him about this sort of decline of Bitcoin media. He now does Pleb Underground. He was doing it with Walton. He's doing it solo now. It's a good show. I listen to Pleb Underground almost all the time. You know, it's pretty good content. Phil's well researched as well, and always has some receipts to pull up. I think he's been around long enough that he knows a lot of this stuff, and I'm looking forward to speaking with him. Next week, I'm speaking with Heather, who is from Unhypnotized. You may have heard her mentioned by Dave last week on the show. They're trying to do media over in Alberta that's adjacent to Bitcoin, but not really Bitcoin. So you're talking like Sovereign Minds type stuff, which was a conference they held there, I think last year. Heather is an interesting woman, to say the least. She is a spiritual type, thinks a lot about the mind, and I think it's sort of like, you know, it's connectedness to your happiness in ways that you might not understand or fully comprehend. Yeah, I see some of you guys in the chat saying she's great. I followed her for a while, and so I'm looking forward to the chat. I have an open mind. And also, Len, you have a fella named Tuan the week after that, which should be a good interview. Tuan, one of our friends from multiple group chats over the years. He'll have a lot of good stuff to say. I don't know what you guys are talking about for sure. And then next after that, I have a couple of tentative dates booked off for Millennial Moron, who we spoke yesterday. I'm going to try and book him for a show in probably late April, I think, early May, something like that. We'll see. There's 2 tentative dates there. And then summertime, so we'll see what happens after that. But yeah, busy stuff coming on CBP as always. And if you have any ideas for guests, send them in, man.
No, chemtrails. He's not a chemtrails dude.
Yeah,
And
in
even
the
if
chat,
you-
Boomer's talking about, are we talking about chemtrails with Tuan? I don't know.
No, man, that was somebody else that got left the chat. No, it ain't Twan. I'm pretty sure it's not him. But if it is, that's something I'm not going to talk about. I don't give a shit about that, to be honest. Whatever
So
that is.
there you go. It's a busy. I mean, I say this every week. It's another busy month of CBP. A lot of great guests, a lot of great content coming. And if you have any ideas for more content, hit us up. Where do you want to start?
Joey, let's talk about the price, like really quick, because
Sure.
you noticed it, and obviously both of us were kind of shocked that it went back to $80,000. This is like low hanging fruit, but this is the one thing that people talk about. I think the most part was with respect to Bitcoin, even though it doesn't really advance anything to do with the technology or anything. It's just more of a talking point, but it's interesting that given what's transpired in the markets for the past few days, the past few trading days, Bitcoin seems to have, for the most part, parried off a lot of the negativity.
Do you really think that? Talk to me about this. Are you a decoupler or no?
Neither or this or nor that. I just looking at it, it looks like it's today, maybe not so much, but the previous 2 trading days, it did look like it decoupled, if you want to use that term. but more than anything, it fended it off, whatever it is. Why is that the case? Gold even went down, but yet Bitcoin, for some reason, stood its ground, which is very odd. I'd expect those two to go in lockstep, one direction or another, but in this case, they didn't. Which seems to be quite odd to me. But either way, it's going to be a lot of volatility moving forward. And if people are trying to time the buys or the sells, I wish you luck, because obviously a lot of this is just due to fake news, real news, and sometimes at the whim of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he's able to move markets one direction or another. So if you're going to time it, good luck. If you're going to leverage it, good fucking luck. For me, and I'll be honest, Joey, I'm not sure if you're in the same position I am mentally, but what happened in the past few days with the markets, honestly, for me, I don't give a shit. There are people out there, I get it, like, my retired mom, my retired in-laws, they're impacted by it because they have a lot tied to the traditional markets. But me, my SAC collection didn't go down.
Yeah.
It slowly goes up over time, but it doesn't go down. So I don't give a fuck about it, to be honest. Like, I'm just always smiling. As long as I have a job and I could pay my bills and I could add more Bitcoin, I'm happy. But until something stops me from any of those, then things change for me. But I don't know if you have anything else, if you're in the same state of mind as I am.
Yeah, I always have something to say. But for this particular point, this topic, Boomer says it in the chat too. What else are you going to sell when the markets are feeling, anxiety is probably too light a term, but on a Sunday afternoon, there's only a couple things that can go, right? Gold, Bitcoin, oil, what else is 24/7? That's basically the list of big liquid markets short of treasuries or currencies. So I would say that that's an expected move. I would also add that the market, volatility in general is not a sign that the Trump policies are necessarily, they are extreme. Don't get me wrong, but the idea that that's the only catalyst, I think, is incorrect. I said today a few different places that stocks are trading, depending on where you look, like 20, 30 times forward PE. So the market's overvalued. It's basically been up and to the right since COVID with very little downside. Mag 7 is really taking the brunt of these losses. If you were in equal weight S&P, you'd be doing a lot better. So it seems like a lot because everybody is just piling into index funds and NVIDIA and all this stuff. And it's been this way for, probably 2-3 calendar years at this point, with Mag 7 just being way outweighed, like way overweight in everyone's portfolio. So yeah, it's going to sting a bit. For the year, I just said this to my mother-in-law yesterday. I just look at VFV, the S&P 500 the ETF. For the year, Len, what do you think, in the past 365 days, what do you think the loss is in that index? That's not equal weight. That's Mag 7 heavy. And after the last 2 weeks, or
0,
3 weeks, whatever,
flat.
You're up 1.8%. So when people are freaking out about this, I just you don't have anything to freak out about. And I know in our Discord, there's some disagreement about what these guys are doing and they're dismantling shit. I just think that's incorrect. They have the tools at their disposal to make the changes they want to see in the global trade economy. They're going to try and use them. And thanks to the politics of the 4-year cycle, they're going to try and get all the pain out of the way in the first 10 months, 12 months, and then hopefully see some return to normalcy and green candles by, I don't know, the midterm, maybe a bit before.
Look, M2, you do overlay of that and the S&P, right? There's a very high correlation between what happens with one and the other. And M2 is probably not going to flatline or go down. It's probably continually going to go up.
Yeah.
So how can we sit here and say with any degree of confidence that the market's going to continually go sideways or go down?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say unless we have some new policy that comes into play that really torpedoes people's opinions and thoughts. And it just, as long as M2 goes up, I'm bullish on everything else going up, including the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? This is all going to be the part of it.
You're right. I'll just point out that M2, the definition of M2 changed a couple of years ago in COVID, right? It hasn't changed back. So maybe the better measure is M1. It's probably a more accurate depiction, but you're right. The
money
the
that's
is
in
still
circulation.
That's right.
That's all I'm looking at. And
exactly.
As long as they're going to be pumping more, as long as they're selling bonds and increasing deficits,
yeah,
or there is a deficit, then then bring it on. There's going to be more money. That's
So, I put this thing up in the comments here.
90%.
Paulie, S&P's up 90% in 5 years. It
But
was a great wealth transfer, as people like to say, during COVID, to the people who had assets from those who did not. And
so, but the timing of that, I understand it went up 90% in 5 years. But if you go back 5 years and 3 months, 2 months, just before COVID hit,
well, let's
that
just
number's
look.
gonna be
I mean, we can just look.
a lot less.
I'll pull it
I
up.
don't know what it would be, but it wouldn't be 90%. So remember, because February and March of 2020, more so March,
Yeah.
everything took a beating. So if you're going to use that as a starting point, great. But it's kind of a fake starting point in my opinion.
Okay. Well,
because
you can use any starting point, right? Like the point is that if I go back, I don't know, let's see, we'll go by months. In like, what's a good starting point for you? Maybe coming out of the
60%
GFC.
if you go back before. That's
2012, something
still
like
a
that.
huge jump.
So
but-
like even like 2012, the S&P was at 1150. It tapped 6,000 a couple of weeks ago.
And
maybe
remember,
a couple months ago now. Yeah.
during the period of time for COVID, when they were sending us stimulus checks and PPP and all that shit,
Mhm.
the amount of money that was in circulation, what was the number that I was being bandied around? It was like 80%. I can't remember the exact number. 80% of all money in circulation was printed during that period of time or something like that.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, maybe, but it's just like it increased it tremendously. And it's, again, like I'm trying to go back, the correlation between the two, between how much money is floating around and the value of any particular asset, including valuation of a company. There's a lot to say that there's a correlation between the two.
I have no problem with, like, again, I'm not anti-boomer, but I do get frustrated when I see the boomers complaining that Trump is tanking the economy. Like I said in our Discord, and I'll say it here too. These people vote against you every chance they get. They vote against you for housing affordability. They vote against you in terms of immigration. They vote against you in terms of the price of goods. They vote against you in terms of the price of housing. They vote against you in terms of the retirement age. All they do is vote against you. So, the question you should have for the boomers is, why are you so opposed to me being able to buy into equities and real estate at more reasonable prices to support my future? And there is no good answer to that question. Because at the end of the day, it's more zero sum than the boomers have traditionally led on or convinced themselves. But this is a good example. Last few days, you definitely saw some heads roll.
Are you gonna? I'm gonna try to phrase this right. Do you intend to vote in the next election?
Yeah, the federal election. Yeah, sure.
Yes. And are you going to vote in your best interests?
Yeah, of course.
So you're doing exactly what they're doing.
And I don't hold it against them. I don't hold it against the boomers. But we have to admit that there's a conflict between the boomers and everyone else. And it's not left and right. It's not, up and down. It's not even geographic, really. It's like the people my age and younger are tired of waiting for these guys to die, honestly. And I just don't have any sympathy for them. We've talked on the show so many times about the audacity of the 60+ crowd to say things in public with such, voracious conviction. Oh, you have to get into real estate as early as you can. It's the best investment. Oh, I saved so much money. I was so smart with my investing. You didn't do shit. You're a fucking retard. You worked at a factory, or you worked at a grocery store, or you worked at fucking Sears or the Bay. Great jobs back then. But the big thing for you was that you started to invest before the money printing got out of control. It's that simple. There's no other reason that all these middle-class people are taking 5 vacations a year and living 6 months in Florida. That's it. And they may not like that answer. They may think they deserve, quote unquote, deserve more. They don't. No one deserves anything. You get what you earn.
There's more to it than that, Joey. You can't use that broad stroke and apply it to everybody. I'll give you the example of my parents, right? My parents came here with just a suitcase, and they had, my dad had his brother here, but really didn't have very much at all.
Yeah.
And with that, through hard work and living a very meager lifestyle, they were able to accumulate enough wealth for them to live a good life at the end of their, when they finished working. So they did sacrifice. They didn't go on vacations every fucking year. They didn't buy new cars, no new clothes. There was a lot of sacrifices that were done along the way in order to accumulate that wealth. So it's not just they invested in a house and it became just wonderful at the end. there were some good decisions along the way, good financial decisions.
For sure.
that were done along
I'm
the way.
talking about the boomers who are going on vacation 5 times a year. Like the guys who, you know, when you go to the golf course, Len, okay? These guys are out there hammering balls 3 times a week, 4 times a week. That's great. Like that's good. That could be good decision making. I'm not saying that. And there's value in restraint, of course. But when I see stuff like people in my life coming over and going, man, I just lost, 4% off of my retirement account, and now I'm going to have to, take one less vacation or whatever. Like, I don't have any sympathy for those people. No one should. Why should anyone have any sympathy for those people? We've been at the mercy of these guys forever. And if I see one more person in their 60s or 70s tell me that we can't let the economy grind to a halt because of Trump's stupidity, you guys wanted to shut down the economy for 5 fucking years because of COVID. So
it wasn't just the elderly. There was numerous people.
I mean, at the end of the day,
it was a particular segment.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's bullshit. And you're giving people way too much credit. When I look back at those stories, it was all about protecting grandma, protecting the elderly. You couldn't go to hospitals. You had to get your shots. Don't forget, they were the first in line for the vaccines. Then they all got them. The economy still didn't open. Why? Because they are an active political group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we did what they wanted, and we always do what they want. And there was other people who wanted that too. But let's face it, okay? Without that push from that demographic, none of that shit would have happened. And so when I see these protests, the Trump protests, again, like you can go online and see these things. My mother-in-law came over on the weekend talking about all these protests against Trump. Like, where were you when everyone under 50 was living in fucking six men to a house in GTA trying to find a job after university but couldn't find one? Like, were you on the streets then? No. You're only on the streets for yourself. And I get that that's what everyone's incentivized to do, but don't come to me for support when things start going my way at the expense of your retirement account, because you're not going to find any sympathy from me. Period. End of story.
What happens when this group is gone? What do you think is going to be the next big voting block out there that could mobilize?
It's us or it's immigrants, I guess, is also the immigrant thing is big. I mean, we talked about this with Dave last week too, that you're starting to see now substandard immigrant cultures take root in the GTA. I don't know if you know this, Len, but not far from you, I'm
pretty aware, and I don't want to talk about it.
Do you know this? I'll talk about it. This story that I heard from a family member of mine. In a GTA school board, the public board is laying off teachers because immigrant kids, specifically Islamic kids, are being told by their parents or being registered by their parents in Catholic schools to stay away from the modern sexual education diet. And, that's interesting because it's just kind of a data point now. But if that's the case, then in 20 years, like, what are the people running for public office in that region going to hold dear? Right? It's very important. It's very important. Yeah.
So now you're going to replace and I'm going to use this term with all due respect. This is not literal. This is just more of a figurative term. The devil right now, because you know exactly how the boomers.
For sure. But like, who's comparing? Yeah, but like, who gives a shit? Like, this is like, you can't always pick the devil. The devil I know is here now, and this is who I'm up against now. I can't fight a fight that's not here yet.
No, but I could predict what's gonna, and this all goes back to my whole thesis of what I plan to do for myself, and I encourage you to do it. You, Joey,
yeah, we're leaving. We're GTFO.
No, whatever.
We're GTFO. Yeah.
I hope you do. Yeah. I mean, so it just leads to that particular road where that's the one we're gonna all have to walk down. Unfortunately, this, for me at least, has been the only home I've known, and it's too bad I'm gonna turn my back to it just because of a series of circumstances. But this is the reality of it. I just have to look out for number one. That's me. So when I go back to the devil you know versus devil you don't know, what we do know is we may not agree with everything with what's being pushed or being asked us by the voting bloc that has a lot of power right now. But the next one, it could be some real funny ones, interesting ones, detrimental ones to the country economy,
for sure,
and just your way of living. So, and once it gets to that point, it's going to be really difficult to just pick up and leave. Like, that's why I always make your preparations now, do it, because once the time comes, at least you've done a lot of the legwork beforehand, and it's just it's simply just packing up the suitcases and get the fuck out. So it's a scary situation that we live in. And if talking about Alberta or other places that may be the last bastion of great place. Like, no, man, like this thing is just going to invade everything. Alberta, a separation of Alberta. The idea sounds almost romantic in a way.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of problems that come alongside with it.
Oh, it'll be significant consequences for sure. Yeah.
And for example, look at it through the eyeballs of just Alberta. What happens to the debt that's been accumulated up to this point by the nation? Does Alberta have to take a share of that debt, and how will they pay it?
Good question.
They can't simply just walk away and say, hey, it's all yours to deal with. I mean,
yeah.
I know that they probably paid into equalization, but still, they were part of the whole union, the whole dominion. That's the proper word. And so, like, don't they have to deal with some of the burden of that? I don't know. Then how does it impact them moving forward, especially from the very beginning? Like, then you're starting off a few steps behind. Like, fuck, man, this is not looking good in a number of different respects.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right. Well, where do you want to
Alberta
go next?
cannot just secede. That's the only way is join the U.S. They'd have to join, I guess, as a territory.
Yeah. I mean, I
wouldn't be a state.
I wouldn't put it past anyone to do anything in the next year or 2 years or 5 years. It seems like there's a lot of moving pieces here, and it's going to be hard to really predict where they're going to land.
Correct. But you can prepare for the worst.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I more mean the comments about Alberta not being able to secede. Like, I think anything's possible.
Potentially. And if anyone thinks they'll become a state, or there's anything that's going to become a state, think of the political leanings Canada is compared, or the Canadians are generally compared to our U.S. counterpart.
Yeah.
And imagine the tipping point if you bring in, say 40 million Canadians, for instance, if you want to bring in the whole thing. It's a lot of voters that probably are going to vote in the United States way, looking at it, left leaning. And so the Republican Party is going to have a tough time getting elected in both the House and Senate and even president. So, like, would they allow that? Probably not. Maybe as a territory.
They'll take our natural resources and make us a territory.
Yeah.
Have fun.
So then are you better off in that case? I don't know. I haven't delved down this topic too much in my head, but
I don't think too much about it, honestly. Like, it's something that's moving around you, but like to your point earlier, you have to prepare yourself, and this other stuff is just, it's not quite white noise, but it's pretty close at the moment. It's just, distractions from what's important, which is being agile and stacking stats.
Are you stacking stats, Troy? Are you doing?
I made a buy yesterday. Yeah, I made a buy yesterday. I might make another one tonight. We'll see.
How's your Bitcoin node journey? Have you started it yet?
I haven't put mint on the machine yet. It's sitting in the other room. I did break in a football. I have this other channel where I break in leather footballs, and it's kind of a fun niche. And I just keep getting more balls sent my way, so I'm just like breaking them in and making videos about it. I enjoy it. My wife not so much.
So people want to send you their balls. That's what
yeah. They send me their hard balls, and they want me to make them soft. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so you have the magic touch to do that. And I'm sure there may be some people listening or watching want to send you their balls too. So
yeah, listen, I'm not giving anyone my address. None of you perverts are gonna find out where
they show up. If they show up at your fucking doorstep wearing a Speedo and a raging boner, you're gonna turn them away, right?
I love it.
Well, Bitcoin mining, we could talk about that really quick.
Sure. Let's just transition from that over to the mining side. Yeah, okay.
Well, I think it's because that's more of a metric we have to look at when you're talking about Bitcoin, because price is one thing. Price is a good talking point, but the reality is it's just a talking point more than anything else. And Bitcoin mining shows you how much capital is being put into investing into mining Bitcoin and potentially securing a network. The difficulty went up, and it went up 6.81% this past week.
You gotta love that, eh? That's a significant signpost, I would say.
Yeah, and that was done on April 5th, so just 2 days ago, Joey. So it wasn't that long ago. And so for people who are unaware of what we're talking about, the Bitcoin network tries to ensure that blocks are mined on average every 10 minutes. And sometimes it could go faster than 10 minutes or slower than 10 minutes, sometimes due to luck, but also due to how much equipment is out there trying to mine for Bitcoin. And the more equipment it gets out there, it's going to lower the amount of time that's going to be to mine Bitcoin. It'll be less than 10 minutes. So what happens? The Bitcoin network then adjusts, makes it more difficult to mine Bitcoin. And so it's trying to always get to that magical 10-minute mark for every block. So here we are. We reached a new record high of a hash rate. It was 900 exahash per second. We crossed that threshold, which is quite high. And we're going to be soon getting to the 1 zettahash
Zettahash,
per
yeah.
second.
I think it's got to be zettahash, right? Is it zetahash maybe? Like alpha, beta, zeta? Is that the pronunciation? I don't know.
I guess I don't know, but it's going to be that. We're getting very, very close to that. It's really more than anything. I mean, not just bullish on Bitcoin in terms of mining, but bullish on energy monetization. Really, that's what it is. This is, if you want to just boil it down, it's energy monetization, right? Nobody is out there. Okay, there's a fair number of people mining Bitcoin would just, they don't give a fuck about the price of it or anything like that, or if it's going to cost them money. But for the most part, these companies that are mining Bitcoin, they just have energy or access to energy. They're buying it, they're able to generate it, whatever, and they're just parlaying that into Bitcoin through mining. So that's, I find to be rather bullish. And look at that. And I think the price of mining 1 Bitcoin now is over 80,000. So it's now 79,000 is the price of Bitcoin right now. So looks like Bitcoin miners are underwater based on how much energy is required, equipment's required, shit like that to mine Bitcoin. So this price drop is going to impact Bitcoin mining if this holds too long.
Doesn't it always? Where do you come down on what miners should be doing when price drops precipitously like this? Are you of the opinion that this is a buy on dip, so to speak, opportunity for them? Crank up the miners, eat the losses for the moment with the hope that, especially in an environment like this, where the macro side of things, I fucking hate that term macro, but we have to talk about it because this is what we are now as an asset. When the macro side of things points so clearly to increased stimulus and government support, Federal Reserve support, I guess, in this case, among other central banks, they're all talking about this now. Is this the time when you really turn on every machine you got and just hope that in a year it's double the price that it is because the next big print is coming? Shout out to Larry Lepard. Is that what these guys are thinking? That's what I was thinking, but I don't know.
Well, you still have to add more equipment. It's not just simply power everything you have and don't add to it. You're going to have to add to it, but you have to also consider now the equipment which you're going to be buying and importing into the United States, if you're going to be doing it in the United States, is now going to be subjected to a tariff. So
yeah, it's tough, man. I don't know what. I still don't think mining at the sort of corporate level is a feasible business, but Trump seems to think so. I mean, his kids are buying something with HUD 8, right? What did they do last week? I forget what the announcement ended up being, but it was significant. They're taking a piece of a Bitcoin miner, right? Calling it American Bitcoin or something like that. So these guys are like, they're jumping on this boat. I don't know who's advising them. Presumably they're getting advice from Lutnick at some level, among other people. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe there's something in the water that I don't seem to understand.
Aren't they mining for wrapped Bitcoin? Isn't that what they're going to be doing?
Are they? They're mining for pitas to wrap the Bitcoin in. They're looking for. They just called Ali Hammam, and they're trying to figure out how can we get these things into wraps. I don't know.
I'm still fucking amazed. Right? Like, given all the information that's available to us, the centralization that is ETH, and like, why would you even go down this fucking path? But whatever. Clearly, if they don't just have the agenda of,
we actually think wrapped Bitcoin is the superior asset.
It is ultrasound, isn't it?
I guess. Money. I don't know. I don't remember. But what is wrapped anyway? Isn't it on? Was it on Solana or something? I forget. We talked about this, and neither of us actually looked into what it was.
I think that's.
I have no idea.
I could be wrong, but you're moving Bitcoin to an address, another Bitcoin address, but it's somehow tied externally to an ETH address.
Just the worst of all worlds. Like the worst of all worlds everywhere you look on wrapped Bitcoin.
So, and I would imagine it's a smart contract on ETH that enables you to get access to that. I mean, I don't know exactly what the fuck it is, but either way, it's bullshit because you're just adding another layer of security, another layer of complexity to this. And you're dealing with a network there that is, they historically have done things that are very centralized. They rolled back the chain, for instance. And imagine somebody doing that arbitrarily, saying, "Oh, we want to just roll it back." Why? Because there was a hack. Well, fuck, the hack.
The fact that you
right?
can is enough, right? Arthur Hayes talking to the Bankless guys a few months back. I mean, I say a few months. This must have been like 6 months ago. And the Bankless guys are trying to make the case that like, yeah, but we never actually like did. We've never actually done a couple of rollbacks that we wanted to do. And Hayes is like, it doesn't matter. The fact that you did one is all it takes. You did it once, and like you lose the sound money argument after that. That's all there is to it. And these two knuckleheads couldn't figure it out. They're just looking at each other like, oh, well, we could have done it more. We're still ultrasound. Like, no, man, you're not. You're not ultrasound. You're in fact, you're dead in the water. I think Ethereum was under 1,400 or 1,500 USD today or yesterday. Like insanely low. If that was
and low, it's not because of the buying opportunity. Low because it's fucking trending to zero.
It is trending to zero. The ETH BTC chart. Jordab, friend of the show, messaged me today on Twitter and was like, "Is this chart?" He's like, "This chart looks insane." And
it hasn't been this low since 20.
I had not really looked at it in a long time. Like I knew what the number was, but oh my God, does that thing look like it's like that's one of the worst looking charts I've ever seen. Ever.
And you know where it spiked, Joey? I mean, the last big spike was when they moved to the proof of
stake. Yeah. Merge, plurge, spurge, burge, whatever. Yeah.
And for whatever reason, there was a lot of hoopla surrounding that, and people wanted to buy in. And since then, it's been just a steady decline. And here we are.
We got to get Stephen A. Smith on the show to talk about it. Merge, splurge, purge, dirge. Doesn't matter. Lakers in 5. Who's Stephen A. Let's just go to the next topic. What's next?
I've heard that name. Like, where the fuck did I hear that from?
He's gonna be he's running for president next term. You heard it here first.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think I heard him on Patrick Bet David a long time ago.
Probably. He's a popular ESPN analyst, though I'm not sure.
Okay, there we go.
Popular. Yeah, he's kind of a loudmouth, but that's okay. Whatever works. He's enjoyable to listen to, I think.
Okay. Well, we talked about the Bitcoin hash rate going up, and now because that's gone up, it's going to impact the mining, at least the economics of mining. Another thing to consider about the economics of mining is the mempool being just drained, right? So last I checked, there was fucking almost nothing there.
Let's pull it up.
So what that means is you're just relying strictly on the 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. The transaction fees getting added to it are going to be minuscule because people are not really fighting to get in there. It's if you don't get in the next block, I'll just wait another 10 minutes to get in there. I don't have to fucking look at that. There's
wow.
Nothing.
Can't D get some ordinals printed in there for some fees? Like what's he doing?
They've moved on to Solana. Have you heard about that?
I don't know. I don't pay.
They have.
Yeah,
the Taproots wizards have decided to move on to a different chain altogether.
I thought they were going to make Bitcoin better for everyone. What a bunch of fucking clowns those guys are.
Yes. Well, yeah. All they just did was create some congestion for some folks, and
I think even though we disagreed on the nature of the rule set around, what those guys should have been doing or shouldn't have been doing, we did both agree that the way they handled that and these guys as public personalities, just two dickheads, the two of them there.
Furthermore, they were given a stage in which to talk about it, right? Like, and they didn't it was just fucking comical on one side, but also so fucking sad on the other side. And to say that anybody in Bitcoin is related or somehow associated with that's pathetic, right? Like they would, I don't know, that's fucking not. They don't deserve any fucking, You're not gonna go to.
We've been doing this show for like 5 years. I still don't know which way to turn to show something. Anyway, great. You like my new picture? Check out my new picture. You like that one? Got that in Quebec. Anyway, it's interesting, man. It's these guys turned out to not be the quality people that they claim to be. How are they doing? How are they doing over on Solana? What's I
have no idea.
No, okay, all right,
no idea.
Cool.
But see, I'm not sure if you saw about this. This quantum computing stuff has reared its head once again, and we had some quantum computing news that come out, I guess, a couple of months ago, maybe a little bit longer. Every time it seems to fly these days. But what they're trying to do is make Bitcoin resistant to quantum computing. And this guy named Augustin Cruz, a Bitcoin developer, submitted a Bitcoin proposal, and he calls it the Quantum Resistance Address Migration Protocol. And what this is, first off, is you'd have to, if this ever adopted, users would have to move their funds to a quantum resistant wallet before a particular deadline or face their coins being effectively burned.
Yeah.
And for those keeping tabs at home, this is effectively a hard fork. And so they're trying to make certain that older addresses, legacy addresses, aren't going to be subjected to an attack by quantum computing. And so they want to, this guy wants to employ some sort of new mechanism, forcing older
That's
coins,
exactly the word that matters. Forcing. Yep.
or it's going to be lost. So you have to move it over to secure wallets before a deadline. And also, not just that, the equipment too will have to be upgraded ASIC based hardware with quantum ready infrastructure. So that means there's going to be some new equipment that's going to have to go alongside this. To me, it's all bullshit, right? Like, why force somebody to move their coins when they don't need to and expose themselves, potentially be outed, right? Like this, it doesn't need to be done at this time. Maybe in the future, but right now, quantum computing is just a theory, right? Like nothing out there is in reality that could effectively impact the Bitcoin network.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it hasn't yet. It may not in the future. So, or may happen. Who knows? But like, we don't have to deal with this at this particular moment. This type of thing, I think is bullshit more than anything. I don't want to see people move their coins when they're not forced to.
Yeah. What do you think his stance on tail emissions is?
That's another thing that's very similar to that.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I would love to know. I didn't look into this guy because I just think this is going to die on the vine, but I'd be curious to know what his stance on tail emissions is. Tail emissions, for the uninitiated, this idea that Bitcoin should not be fixed supply and should have some very, very, very small, I think supporters would argue, de minimis amount just constantly added to the supply to keep mining security where it needs to be to protect the network. I don't agree with any of that stuff. I think tail emissions are a non-starter, the same way that I think forcing people to move their coins is a non-starter as well. Because what it's really going to do is repool coins for people who are hodling and either don't have the means to find their coins or lost their wallet or whatever. I mean, there's people who will say, well, if the coins are lost, then why don't we just put them back in the mining pool? Well, that's not how this works. If we do that once, we will go down the same road as Ethereum, where everyone will just assume that we may do it again. And the biggest voices and the people with the most to gain from making these changes will continue to impact the network and the protocol. And you don't want that. That's just not a place you want to be. So I'm completely against this. I don't think it's reasonable to even suggest it, honestly. And it continues to amaze me that people say this stuff out loud in public. I'm really shocked by this. It's sort of a, career limiting move, I would say, to suggest something like this in Bitcoin.
I think that they're doing this with probably the right intentions, and they're probably not just playing this out, or they're saying that whatever sort of negativity surrounding it is just not going to be something we should be really talking about. It's more of a nothing burger than anything else.
Yeah.
But really, like, could you imagine being forced? You have Bitcoin.
It's crazy.
And you've been Bitcoin for 15 years or so, and you've been told you got to move your Bitcoin or else potentially it's going to not be accessible anymore. What the fuck? Like, I don't want to. If I want to keep it in storage, it's my choice.
Yeah, there are people too who, like, how many people that got into Bitcoin 15 years ago on the Bitcoin talk forums or whatever have never actually told anybody they own Bitcoin, have never actually had to pull a paper wallet or done any of that stuff because they just wanted to lay low. And now you're telling them that they have to, like, embark on this. Like, it may seem insignificant in terms of the task itself, but you only have $100,000 in Bitcoin. This guy's got 50 million, 60 million, 100 million, whatever, right? And he may not want to sit at his computer and sweat trying to move coins to what will be unproven addresses in terms of security and robustness. I can't imagine anyone is going to do this, even if they're quote unquote forced. The hard fork will lose in a battle of network effect. And also, like, I'm still not convinced on quantum. Quantum is sort of the Schrodinger's cat, right? Like, you claim you have quantum capabilities, but you need quantum to prove it, and you can't see, like, I can do it, but I can't show you, like, qubits and shit. Like, fine. I mean, I'm not pretending that I'm an expert in this, but I need some quantifiable proof. And quantifiable proof may not even be possible in quantum. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm just a simple guy. And when someone tells me they've made a significant breakthrough, I want to see how they can prove it. And And if you can't prove it, then you didn't make the breakthrough. It's really as simple as that, is it not?
Yeah, and I want to just add to your point when you're talking about people that got Bitcoin or mined Bitcoin or even bought Bitcoin a
The
long time
early
ago.
miners too, Len. Great point. I didn't even think about them, but yeah, totally.
Imagine, like, I'll use the example, that guy that bought that piece of paper that said buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
He took a subway ride over to pick it up. Do you remember? Like he's just so, you would have never suspected that guy. And
Yeah.
Too bad he outed himself, at least
That's
by
right.
face. But how many people are like him that just have no fucking clue? You look at them, you would have no idea that they are worth a lot, and they live a life, a regular life, but mentally they know that they're stable, financially stable. And so many people are like that in Bitcoin. Why do we have to out them?
Yeah.
Why do they have to action it? Let them action whenever they need to or
Totally.
want to, not forced to.
Totally. I just want to point out, Boomer in the chat, I'll read this for people on the audio side. Bitcoiners are the only ones talking about quantum when there are a million other communities out there in more danger. I disagree with that. I think that the reason we're in more danger than those other communities is because banking and national security and internet infrastructure are centralized. They can make a change very quickly. We cannot. And so we have to think about this stuff early, even if it's not a threat yet. I think we're in the right spot, and I do think it's dangerous for us more than most. The only thing I would say is that attackers anywhere but at a nation state level don't really have an incentive to break the network security because it draws the asset down to zero, right?
There's more to it. Imagine
Yeah.
if you're talking about launch commands, launching for missiles and whatnot.
Oh, that's what I said. It's national defense security for sure. Yeah.
Right,
All
like,
that stuff
that's
is
the
all
one.
SHA-256 and similar, right? So
Like, you have submarines that are acting, and they're, I don't think I understand the whole situation, but they're out there doing their nuclear propelled submarines, and they're just quiet. They're just going based on whatever they hear. But
yeah,
if somehow they get hacked, right? Like, how could you stop them from launching?
that's right.
Right? Like, they're just
There's
on
just
an island, so to
fleets,
speak.
fleets of missiles and ICBMs that are nuclear capable
what
or
the
nuclear
fuck?
equipped. Yeah, it's insane. I know. Like when quantum happens, you're not going to hear about it on Bitcoin first. That's for sure. I think that's probably accurate.
Did you hear about this Bitcoin dev saga with Google?
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you something. What are the odds that Google did that without warning these guys in advance? I get a lot of emails from Google about stuff they're planning on doing with my accounts, my old Gmail accounts, my old like YouTube channels that never did anything with, I just made on a whim, years ago. They tell me all the time, we're going to get rid of this. You have to save it or you have to sign into it. Otherwise it's gone. And so what are the odds, I said to these guys?
You're
if
asking the wrong question.
Okay, go ahead. What's the right question?
Because it doesn't matter if they warned them or not.
It's still them deciding. Yeah.
Why, if anybody could understand the notion and the value of having something decentralized, would be the Bitcoin developers.
Right.
And why do they continually use a centralized service like this? I don't know if
the vibes, I don't know, because the calendar app is so good. I have no idea.
So, I'm going to give you an
idea.
example. The Nostr network, and I'm not sure if there is an alternative that is available using the Nostr network, but if there isn't, then certainly one could be developed. And yes, it's easier said than done. I know you have to put a lot of legwork in order to do that, but if the idea comes up, I'm sure there would be some donations that could come up, and that person or people could then put in the time and effort to create a decentralized alternative,
quantum resistant
at that too.
Yeah, we need that.
So it makes so much sense for me to see something like that. When I think about it, like, why don't these Bitcoin developers who like what the fuck, decentralized, it should clue in for them. But for some reason with this, they decided to go ahead and use this. They were not kicked off the Linux chat. They were forced to get off that, and so they had to migrate somewhere. Now they went to Google, but like, fuck, now we have Nostr. Like, can we take advantage of that and the relays that are like, I don't know. Let's fucking look at alternatives. That's the question we should be asking.
I ultimately don't care. I ultimately don't care that much about this, but I do agree that this was preventable and should have been obvious to this group of people, and instead they just didn't fucking do anything about it.
But that should be concerning to me, at least.
Like, because what else are they missing if they miss that?
Yeah, like,
I know
that's fucking scary to me. But
yeah, John in the
Yeah.
chat, it was a requirement from the devs for it to have email capabilities. Google pretty much controls the email protocol. It is very hard to stand up email capabilities. No argument there. Just wondering if they gave this any thought.
But why does it have to be email? Again, if it's something like Nostr, where you could just simply log in and get your information, like there could be some alternative that is built,
I don't know.
right? Like,
Who knows?
and
I don't,
again,
I don't
easier
know.
said than
And
done.
I'll tell you what, the CBP mailing list never endangered because it's on EasyDNS. Go to the website and sign up for our mailing list. We're on top of things over there.
Do you want to talk about this last Fidelity thing or
What Fidelity
Let's see.
thing?
Bitcoin knots? I'll give you because we have one
Oh,
circle
God. Okay.
knots. We have Fidelity.
I'll do Fidelity. Sure. What is it? I mean, what's it going to be? I already know how the knots story will go. You like knots. Anything that's not knots related, you don't like.
No, having options is good.
What's the
more than
Fidelity
anything.
one? What's the Fidelity story?
They announced a new product this
Okay.
past week, right? And it didn't get a lot of hoopla, but it's there. But I'm sure it's going to probably capture some money from retail. It's the crypto individual retirement account, and that's for the IRA, allowing for clients to invest directly into what they say crypto. And they're offering 3 different accounts: a traditional
Yeah.
IRA, a rollover IRA, and a Roth IRA. And for those Canadians, I think this is the equivalent of an RSP for United States citizens or US residents even. And the Roth IRA charges a tax on the deposit, enabling tax-free withdrawals after retirement. And there's no fees for opening or maintaining this account with Fidelity, but Fidelity charges 1% for every buy or sell order. Remember, not your keys, not your coin is very applicable in all cases, including here. And they claim to use cold storage strategy to optimize the security of the investor account.
Fuck is a
And
cold
they say
storage
that
strategy?
a management team, this gets beauty, it's just a beauty. They say a management team monitors the cold storage accounts and makes them accessible to clients. And they're making efforts to mitigate the risks of hacking and cyber crime. It's going to take one hack, and if there's a significant amount of fees in there that cannot be made undone or it can't be made whole, the clients are just essentially fucked. Confidence is lost. But at that point, it just goes to show the whole value of not your keys, not your coin. I like the fact that they're enabling people that you could use these tax-free and all this shit, but still in the end, again, not your keys, not your coin. Learning the art of self-custody, and you can sleep so much better at night. Don't rely on Fidelity to do this shit.
So I'll just note here that this is an interesting story for a couple of reasons. One, so let's point to some good things first. Okay. One, it's good to see that there's demand for these products in a retirement vehicle. That tells me that the older folks, I want to say older folks, but honestly, that's probably people like my age, your age.
Just retail in general.
Yeah, thinking about this stuff, wanting to use it in a tax advantage way. So they have that. That's good. People are thinking long term. They will be hodlers. As I've said in the past, that's what I would call slow money, right? That's floor setting money, not going to sell for 20, 30 years. Great. It's also good that they're allowing, tax-free withdrawals at the end of all this. Great. I like that too. That's strong. That's potentially, precedent setting in some ways. The things I don't like is that Fidelity is really starting to sound like they're going to be talking their own book on this. So right now it's open to Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, right?
Ethereum.
And
I think we have a winner here.
yeah, I think that might be it. I don't even know what the other ones do, but that's great. So they're selling Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum in this thing. Fine. But how long is it until they start shilling their other products? They just launched a Solana ETF, for example. Is that going to be looped into the crypto retirement thing? The fees are not enough of a reason to go into these accounts and just get nuked on these altcoins going to zero, right? Is that fair to say? And so I don't think Fidelity is doing anything here except trying to pump their own bags. And until I'm proven wrong, what else does Fidelity ever do besides try to pump their own bags? So
that's what they all do.
Yeah, I expect to see these other products that they launch go into this basket. And then they can say stuff like, oh, our ETF product has this many clients. Yeah, but fucking 50% of them are just in your ETF your crypto retirement ETF. They don't actually want, like Mark's saying in the chat, they don't actually want the FARC coin allocation. They just fucking get it at 0.05% because you have it in the basket. It is what it is. You're going to see more and more of this. There's going to be, 10 bad ideas for every one good idea and 10 bad vehicles for every one vehicle. And there will be Bitcoiners, you and me among them, who will say, this is all nice and good, but you really should be holding your own Bitcoin and buying spot. This is the whole point of the asset.
That's it, Julian. Now we're in.
Wow.
We're doing the Bitcoin stuff.
Are we doing Carney? Listen, we're going to cut to the other side of the show. If you're on video, audio, you know what to do. Stay here, go away, come back tomorrow. You decide. Till next time, take care of yourselves.
And don't be a cock.